Good morning, everyone. Hello. It is Sunday, which means it is time for Lorebeards. Welcome back. This is amazing. We have actually done it back-to-back weeks starting at the same time. It's a miracle. So welcome to the stream, everyone. We hope you had an excellent week. There's quite a bit for us to talk about today. We've got a bunch of Total War stuff, and of course, we've got a fair amount of news regarding other things as well. But first, just to do a quick check-in and stuff. First of all, look at that! Look at the glam up here on Nathan. Look at him. You can see him.
Yeah.
He's real. He's not a poorly rendered program anymore. He's an actual person.
I'm a real boy now.
So how have you been over the last week? How are you doing?
Good. Same old. Just obviously dealing with embargoes. And I decided, this would be the perfect time where it's the most stressful for a Total War creator. Yeah, I'm going to stop smoking. Yeah, this it's 2 days in now. I want to cry. I really want to cry.
You're kind of in the hardest part still. But I'm proud of you. And it's okay if you don't. Not that I want this to happen, but don't feel bad if it's about making the longest gaps between times as possible.
Yeah.
So be forgiving to yourself. I wish you the best of luck on it. And plus, yeah, I mean, you're already at 100% stress, right? What's the difference between? You can't go any higher, right? That's how it works. Like once you're at once you're at the top, you can't go above that. We all know that's how that works. But yeah, good good luck with that, man.
It's gonna be weird. It's definitely gonna be weird.
Yeah, but hopefully that keep it up. Best of luck with that. But in Total War side of things, or hobby, just outside of that, how's the last week been? Hobby going okay?
Yeah, a little bit of painting, a little bit of building, sorting out some beastmen, finishing up a few Tomb Kings because I want to kind of fluff up the army a little bit for battle reports. Just a little bit of work everywhere, making sure I can actually get stuff done. But at this point, it's just kind of like I really don't want to pick up a brush. I think it's the case of we've got weekly embargoes at the moment. Right now, there has to be a priority of what is going to get done or not, and I'd rather make it the videos until I start getting back into the hobby side of things. I think.
Yeah,
what about you?
We still got about we definitely got about another 2 weeks of brutality. But it'll be it's gonna be really nice if the game comes out. Everyone watching will be very happy because they'll be playing the game, and we'll be happy because we can finally stop.
Can sleep.
Yeah, I'm doing well. Just living life. I didn't get any hobby stuff done, but I've been quite busy with just I'm sure like most of us with Total War stuff. I've got a grand tournament looming on the horizon, and I have not touched my army in about a month and a half. So I need to start getting games in because apparently the meta has shifted a lot over the last 90 days, and I have no idea what it is anymore. Or sorry, the last like 45 days. So it feels like it's been months since I last played, but I know for a fact I went to a tournament like the last week of November, which was not that long ago, but things are going okay. Definitely just dealing with health stuff still. My ulcer is slowly healing. I am doing better. I'm almost done with my first month of treatment. That pill sucks, but gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
I think things are going okay, and I'm with you. I'll be very, very happy once the embargoes are done with. I don't know for anyone out there, it may not sound stressful, but it really is. It's super stressful. But in any event, we're live, we're doing okay, and that's great. So without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into the easiest part of what we get to do today, which is going to be let's check in on how submissions. So although the Tale of Two Gamers was not due today, we did have a number of people submitting the Lorebeards hashtag to show off minis that maybe they didn't get to show off while we were on hiatus and such like that. So I've got so we're just going to pull up the hashtag. And if you are watching the stream, this is your last opportunity to hop on this bandwagon. But we're going to pull it up, sort by latest. And I for people that posted my Discord, I grabbed most of you. I may have missed one or two people, and if so, I apologize. I'll try and get you next time. And we're gonna take a look at the minis. So starting off, we've got some here by Peter, which is really, really cool. So what he sent is he's got a finished mini, which is oh my god! Do you see this swordswoman mini? Do you see the reflection on the sword?
Oh wow!
What the fuck, dude? What is this? What is this absolute flex on? Oh my god. I'm disgusted by the quality of this mini. I'm genuinely upset.
That is wow.
That is already it was a gorgeous paint job because like look at the lighting. You could see the lighting from the lantern like on the ground and against her armor. And then you see the reflection on the sword like damn, Peter. You didn't have to do us like that. Damn, Peter. Great mini. And then the one he sent us that's all black, it's primed, is actually a Luther Harkins sculpt that he made, apparently.
That is awesome. I was wondering because I saw the face. I was like, is that Harkin?
Yeah, so I'm not sure if he kit bashed it or 3D printed it exactly. He should be in my Twitch chat, so maybe he'll say, but that is a gorgeous mini for Luther Harkin. I mean, he's even got the back spikes and everything. I love the way he's holding his sword. It looks like he's about to throw it at him. Let's throw it at somebody.
Very, very cool.
Ah, man, Peter. All right, damn. All right, next up, we got that one guy you know jumping in on the Total War Warhammer 3 action. He sent us a Kairos Fate Weaver, who, of course, we've all been playing around with today, and a Bellicor model, and these are gorgeous. I mean, these literally look like they're ripped straight from the army book. The Bellicor mini in particular is just lovingly crafted. Which it's interesting. I love this mini so much. I still have mixed feelings about CA not using this version, and using the old version. Like I know you and I have talked a fair bit about this. Of that, like I've come around on it because I feel like this version isn't quite. It's more draconic than I think it should be. When I really think about it, considering Bellicor is supposed to be kind of more of a human that has turned, and his old mini I think conveyed that better. But like, damn, what a good mini. Like, I really need to get one of these in my collection that painted by someone else because I don't want to.
I don't know what I just switched off.
I don't know. What did you switch off?
Oh, I'm having one of those days again because I'm just trying to plug in my mouse charger. Oh god.
Okay, well, it sounds like you're fading in the distance, so I don't know what you're doing, but oh, it's because you're gone. Where did you go? Where's my co-caster? Where'd you go?
Okay.
Oh, you're under the desk. What are you doing down there? What are you doing?
Well, I've had to replug in my charger for my mouse, but I pulled something out. I just don't know what it was, but
oh, I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah, everything's working, so it's good.
It's just like your neighbor's life support. All right, so moving on, we've got Hios06 submitting a Chaos Lord on Juggernaut. Very nice. He went with a really it's a good color scheme, but I actually like it's very different than what you typically see in that his main armor is like this really outspoken red, and then everything else is black and gold. But in my opinion, red, black, and gold is the most vastly superior mix of colors that you will ever find. So I have nothing but round of applause for this, with of course some nice really silver accents on the chainmail and the mechanical biddies.
I always like the Juggernauts in black. I prefer them to the Juggernauts in red, to be honest. It's just they look more intimidating, don't they?
Yeah, I think the red color doesn't. I don't think it lends itself as well when used on like mechanical parts.
Yeah,
as the black does. I don't know why. Then up next, Tybelane sent in a Stormtrooper, of all things. And it looks great.
Nice.
Very clean paint job. I really like the blue alien grass.
I love these. I freaking love these Star Wars minis so much.
It's a really nice
like
dynamic
them.
pose, too, where he's like
Mm.
getting a message or something. Sorry, Clone Trooper. Sorry, Clone Trooper. My bad. Listen, I'm only a Loremaster of one universe, and they're all the same to me. My bad.
Oh, this is so cool.
Then we've got RTK J Phoenix from the RTK clan sending in. So I don't even know what these are. These look like Game of
Night's Watchman.
Thrones.
Yeah, Night's Watchman. Looks like it.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, dude, look at the tray where he's got the horses running through the river. So they've got the water feature on their base.
Oh, wow.
Wow, that looks really... Wow, the water turned out spectacular on this tray. And the bases. Like, good God. Dude, could you, like, post your water making tips in the paint
really
chat?
nice.
Because, damn, I would
That is
love
really nice.
to have that good of paint. Like, I would love to do something like that for, like, some of my Nighthawk minis or something. Damn, dude.
That
Very,
is
very nice.
so cool.
Next up, oh, I really like this one. Hawk Oddly, a beloved member of our community, did a Bray Shaman on a Herdstone. And he's actually standing on the one of the rock. He's standing on a rock that you can use on the Sigor kit. So perhaps he built a Gorgon and didn't have anything to do with the big Minhir stones that the Sigors throw. So he's using it on the base for his Bray Shaman. It looks fantastic.
Yeah, I quite like that. It's there's. I wouldn't imagine that holding up too well, but it does. Like, that's really nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm genuinely curious how he secured that, considering like so little of the actual stone is touching much. I'm shocked. Well, I mean, granted, it's plastic, but yeah, like it's a very good, solid dynamic post or pose. But like, man, good. I wonder how much patience that took.
Yeah.
Next up, we've got a Skull Taker, good old Uzul, not the one in Archaon Sword, but the other one. A character who I highly suspect we'll see as a legendary lord in Total War Warhammer 3 in the future. By Very Trash on the Lore Seekers Discord. And he did kind of an interesting job, or a very interesting scheme with the Skull Cape, where it's like they're like bleeding, or there's like blood flowing out from amongst them. But this is his new sculpt. Man, what an upgrade for him. Like his old mini was well, it just wasn't this. It wasn't this.
I still like the old one, to be honest. I think
Yeah.
he's got that really cool pose.
Yeah, he's good, but I will say the cape is definitely much better on the new mini.
Oh, definitely.
The Cape of Skulls, where he keeps all the one he's beat. But yeah, great job, Very Trash. Keep at it, dude. Next up, we've got a classic Thorgrim Grudgebearer mini. And the person who posted this, Oathstone, mentioned that the one where Thorgrim is all like gray and stuff, that's not before he painted him, apparently. That seems to be like an alternate, where it's like Ghost Thorgrim. Or like ethereal, like Thorgrim after he's died, but still leading the dwarves. But like I miss this mini so much. Like probably this is probably one of the minis I am the most excited for Warhammer the Old World, is getting Thorgrim or oh god, who's the High King before Thorgrim? Alricsson, I think. Getting the Throne of Power back with like modern sculpting, because I love this mini, but my only issue with it is that like Thorgrim has he's the old school version where the dwarves are like they're just so scrunched. Because GW didn't really in my opinion, didn't find a way to print good dwarf minis until like 8th edition fantasy. Which has carried on into AOS, but like I want a reprint of this mini so bad with today's like sculpting abilities.
It is really, really good. Yeah.
Then next up, Rowan the Accused has submitted
Some more custodies.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So we saw these last week, but he's furthered his progress on them.
I think this is a yeah, last week, but the walker is new, isn't
yeah,
it?
the walker's new.
Yeah.
But man, oh, look at that barbed wire on the base.
Hmm.
Oh, dude, look at the blade. The blades look on the well, on all of them, they look fantastic, but especially the walker. I think the camera just caught it very nicely.
Yeah.
But those edges,
Oh
man.
no, different units, different units.
Oh, they
He's
are
just
different
said in the
units.
chat.
Okay.
Yeah.
They look slick though. Like I love the metallics he uses. They look they're so clean. We talked about this last week. The metallics he's using and the way he uses them, my god, they're clean.
Yeah, no, it is really cool. Plus, it is very difficult with custodies to make them look nice because they're generally just gold and that's it. But you've got like that silver really helps.
Yeah,
That is
I've
really
noticed
nice.
that with Custodes and Stormcasts. Like, I really don't like Games Workshop's like absolute base form where they're just like drowning in gold. It doesn't look good. I really don't. I much prefer when they use like silver or black as the base and then
Yeah.
have gold silver accents.
Definitely. It's just so much better.
Yeah, I will say those blue blades really tie the whole thing together, and the blue gems, like the gold and silver, I think is helped out so much by those deep blue blades and then the dark red plumes. It looks very nice.
Cool.
And then we've got an and the is it's Sigvald and Nagash. Man, there's a rivalry that's going down, and we're probably going to see build up at AOS at some point, seeing as Nagash chucked Sigvald's soul into a mirror for a few 100,000 years or however long it's been. But man, that new Sigvald mini, mwah. Like it's great pose. He looks great. I love that he pulled a Valkia where he looks like he's a demon prince because he's got mutations, but he's not a demon prince. He's just like a better mortal.
So I've not caught up with the lore, and if I sound weird, it's because I'm going under my table for a sec. Can you explain to me what the hell's going on with Sigvald in AOS? Because like I've not caught up.
Okay, I'm gonna give you the TLDR version. Okay.
Yeah.
So the abridged version is that after Sigvald dies in Warhammer Fantasy, his soul scatters to the void. But unlike the rest of the Dark Gods, Slaanesh was too busy gorging on elven souls and worrying about himself that he basically abandoned all of his champions, which is supposedly why we don't see Nakari, at least right now, and we also don't see Sigvald for a really long time in AOS. Is that Slaanesh didn't care. He abandoned all of his champions because he was focused on himself, and then he gets caught. So Nagash, after Nagash is resurrected in Age of Sigmar, one of the first things Nagash does is he goes around gathering up people from the old world to serve as his new Mortarchs. And he draws out 4 big guys to be his big new lieutenants from the old world, which is that he resurrects Manfred von Karstein, Neferata, Ushorin, and Arkan the Black. But he couldn't find Krell. And we don't know why he couldn't find Krell, but for some reason he couldn't find him. So Krell seems to be permanently dead. But Nagash remembers Krell, and he's so butthurt about, which understandably, if I lost something like Krell, I would be very upset too. Because he could not get Krell back, he was able, however, to find Sigvald. So Nagash grabs Sigvald's soul and decides, instead of just like obliterating him into dust, decides to punish him instead. So what he does is he takes a mirror of something known as shade glass, which is this like eternal. It's basically like so the Shyish Realm Stone, which is like the magic, it's like Warp Stone, but if it was made purely out of death magic. So like the purified solid essence of death magic in AOS is known as is this purple sand. And if you take a whole bunch of it together and heat it up and put it under a lot of pressure, it turns into glass, just like in our world. And that glass is called shade glass, and it has a lot of crazy properties. And so what Nagash does as an FU to Sigvald is he traps his soul in a mirror, a shade glass mirror, and curses him that whoever looks in the mirror will see their best possible selves in the reflection. So they will basically kind of get stuck in a whatever that Greek guy is that stares at himself until he dies. That's basically what it does to you. Is that you look in the mirror and you will get addicted to seeing it. So, but Sigvald is aware and sentient within the mirror. So he's been spending eternity essentially being a looking glass of people admiring themselves instead of admiring him, or him allowing him being able to bask in his own appearance, which is Sigvald's favorite thing. So it was actually a pretty fitting punishment for Sigvald. However, during second edition AOS, as Slaanesh's power is rising a little bit due to shenanigans going on, Sigvald, his mirror gets found by some dwarfs who find, or Dwarden, who find it very, very cool, and they take it back with them. But before they can get it to where they're going, they get killed by a whole bunch of worshippers of Slaanesh who think the mirror is super cool. And one of them, because of Slaanesh's rising power and the fact that he's a Slaaneshi cultist, can kind of like is vaguely aware there's a sentience to the mirror. And Sigvald, through a series of shenanigans, he ends up performing a ritual to shatter the mirror and bring Sigvald out of it. So Sigvald once more manifests and he's back. But after being all that time in the mirror, he comes back and kind of takes advantage of Slaanesh's growing power in the world. And due to his death and now resurrection, he's changed a little bit, which is why he has demon horns. And we know that he has two mutations, or two things. He's got these horns that he really likes, and then somewhere hidden under Sigvald's armor, he has a wound on his body. He has a horrible, hideous scar that he's hiding and doesn't want anyone to know about, that he got from Quarrel. And it's the one thing he's most terrified of anyone finding out about, because Sigvald, thinks himself a paragon of perfection. And now Sigvald is running around, helping look for Slaanesh while also just killing people, and he's back to being a really cool special character. And the coolest thing about him is that Sigvald is actually terrifying in tabletop because he's one of the only characters who ignores ward saves.
Oh.
So he'll run up to Gotrek Gurnison and stab him in the face, and Gotrek will instantly die.
So he's still mortal.
Yes,
would he be
he's
demonkin?
He's essentially been Valkia-ified. So he's still a mortal, but like he's so hilariously above being mortal that he might as well be a demon. He's a demon prince that can die.
Interesting.
But he looks great. And I'm really glad he's back in the setting. We got a really, really cool short story about him where he met one of Slaanesh's new special characters, who's the embodiment of gluttony, Glutos Orskillion, and the two of them hated each other because he thought Sigvald was a arrogant, stupid, pretty boy, and Sigvald thought he was a disgusting fat slob. And they were trying to work together while also trying to kill each other, and it's a really good story. And then our last post for today is from Flame Train, who is showing off this sweet demon boy who looks like a corrupted space marine. I know he's a special character. I remember when this model got released, but I don't remember what his name is.
This is a 30k model.
Yeah, Horus Heresy. Someone in chat will know who this is. Like, it's beautiful. It looks great. He did a really good job. He definitely used contrast paints. I can tell based on the flesh, but it looks very, very good.
Oh, I love this miniature. This one looks this looks so fucking cool.
Dude, look at the guts from the Space Marine. Wow, he did a really good job on that.
This is
Argle
awesome.
Tall, one of the word bearers. Thank you, chat.
It took him he's here. Took him 7 hours to paint him. That's not bad, for 7 hours. That looks really good. That's like fucking hell. Like the wings, look at the like the model is so cool because it's got like some vein accents there with the wings. It's just so grim. I love it. I fucking love it.
Oh, I love his spine is like pressing out from the back of his armor. Like that. This is a good looking mini. Oh, you're right. Argle Tall is a bad boy. Am I right? It's literally in the tweet. I can't read chat. Y'all should know that.
That's so cool, though. That is so cool.
That
like the characters that come out for fucking 30k are just so much cooler than the ones that come out for 40k.
I'll tell you what, man. If they ever do like a big Tyranid range refresh and like 40k kind of gets its stuff sorted out, because I know rules wise they're having some issues right now. I would kill, I will definitely use contrast paints to paint a Tyranid army, because it just seems like a natural thing to do. Like it looks so good on these like fleshy bits.
Yeah, definitely. It looks really, really good. I love it. It is so nice.
All right, real quick, I'm just gonna make sure there weren't any last second additional submissions.
I believe there were. Oh, we got one from
We got
Ray
one.
here.
All right, this is the last one we're gonna do for today. So from Ray, we got it's very similar. Oh, nice. They've got a oh god, what is her name? Yndrasta. They got a Yndrasta. Oh, I love her mini. She's such a good mini. You're making good progress, dude. This is I actually really like, I don't know what mini this is. The dude with the, like, it looks like a custody, I guess.
I think this is from the new box where it's isn't it Custodies versus Genestealer Cults? Yeah. I think it is. I mean, it's pretty. It is a very nice model.
You are definitely I would guess, looking at these, newer to the paint scene, just because of the what's the word I'm looking for, the color selection, in that there's like a handful of colors that are used very, very well. This is a great starting point. Like, these are turning out, you got some really clean stuff done, especially on Yndrasta.
It's a Custodes Blade Champion. All right, so it is Custodes. It is nice. One of the nicest Custodes minis, because I'll be honest, a lot of them look kind of boxy, but this one looks kind of badass.
Yeah, he doesn't look nearly as I think you and I are thinking the same thing. He doesn't look nearly as bulky as the other ones do.
Yeah, very, very nice miniature. Very, very nice.
Yeah, and
I like the blue sword.
I love Yndrasta. Yndrasta has a lovely mini, and she's a very strong character right now in Age of Sigmar. She is a very, very solid monster slayer. So I hope you get some great games with her on the table, but I think this is an excellent starting point. Definitely would, if you're looking for, feel free to ignore this next part if you don't give a shit, but definitely would recommend picking up some shades when you can, like Nuln Oil or Agrex Earthshade, to really take some of this to the next level. But it's looking really, really good. Great starting point. Keep at it.
Yeah, that's honestly very, very nice miniature. Very, very nice miniature.
All right, and that is going to be it for today. For that's the podcast. We're done. That's going to be it for Tale 2 Gamers. Just a reminder that the theme is character. We will be wrapping up the character theme not next week, but the week after. So not the 6th of February, but the 13th of February, I think.
13th, yeah.
Yeah, so on the 13th of February, if you are participating in Tale 2 Gamers, your new finished character mini will be due. What?
No, never mind. Yeah, 13th is fine. Remember, because we have something else planned.
Yes, but it's not on the 13th.
It's
on a different day.
I thought it was.
Yeah, can't talk about that yet. So anyway, moving on. Yeah. There's your hint, chat, where we can't say anything more. There it is. All right. So moving on. Let's go on to today's Who Would Win. And I specifically picked an answer just to torture chat and everyone in the community, especially because, well, I'll get into this later. I saw something that was not meant for mortal eyes, and I can't undo it.
You saw that same picture too? The one where she's standing in a weird position?
No. What are you talking about?
I've seen some weird fan art pop up lately, man.
Listen, I've seen some great fan art pop up recently. No, I'm talking about. Okay, I'm gonna reference it, and I'm not going any more specific because I don't want to hurt people by making them aware of it. I read a story because I saw someone memeing about it, and someone I know like mentioned it to me. I was like, have you seen this story? And I was like, what story? And then I found it. And I was like, why is this so well written? I hate how well written this is. Like, whatever, it's smut. Like, smut's fine. I'm totally cool with it and all that stuff. But this was like eloquent smut. I was like, what is this? It's supposed to have bad grammar. Why is this written so well? Anyway, so we're gonna be doing Miao Ying versus Emmerich of Caledor. The ultimate dragon boy versus the dragon, the storm dragon of the north. And let's just hop right into it. So in one corner we've got Miao Ying. She is, of course, she seems to be the most dangerous of the 9 dragon children, depending on how you look at it. She could change form. We know that she has a human form in which that she is a very skilled martial artist, and she has significantly powerful magical abilities. She's able to pull from the lore of life and the lore of yin to great effectiveness, which makes her a fairly deadly combatant, and she can also heal herself, but she can also turn into a dragon. And when she turns into a dragon, she turns into this big, scary, black-scaled dragon that is got all sorts of lightning stuff around it. And she is not, notably, is not able to use magic nearly as effectively in this form. The only spells that the dragons seem to be able to use in dragon form tends to be spells that kind of correspond with their nature as dragons. Being that Miao Ying is able to use her big old Talons of the Night spell, and her brother, I think, uses like the Constellation, or like the Fire Breath spell, and maybe the Constellation of the Dragon. Now, it's I would say it's probable that they can use magic fairly effectively in dragon form. That's more of a gameplay thing. But we don't have confirmation of that at this time. So as far as best we could tell, their magic seems to be more limited when they are in dragon form. But she is still a very powerful combatant in dragon form. She can fly utilizing magic. She does not require wings to fly, so there's no easy way to stop her from flying by attacking her wings or any of those systems. And she is a very serpentine dragon, so she's able to do lots of nasty flips and smack you with her tail and hit you with lightning bolts. And she also seems to have kind of a lightning breath attack. Are you okay, Nathan? Are you all right?
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Do you need a minute?
it's the weird matchup.
I'm not even into the weird part yet. Like Emmerich's the weird one in this matchup. Emmerich makes it weird, which is why we're doing it. So in the other corner, we've got Emmerich, the golden child of Caledor, the boy who was destined to be great because he was named after one of the best Phoenix Kings we ever had, Emmerich, who of course changed his name to Caledor the First after he became Phoenix King. So Emmerich, known as the Master of Dragons, is a very genuinely shockingly skilled combatant. Emmerich is up there with Tyrion when it comes to just skill with weapons. He, unlike Miao Ying, he does actually get to bring some magic items to the table. He has the Star Lance, which is infamous for being a terrifying weapon that, although he's only able to use it very, very effectively on when going into on a charge. He's very good at doing that on Manathnir because he gets to stay airborne and can essentially do kind of cycle charge scenarios, but is able to deal a very significant amount of damage if he can land a blow with that lance. It ignores armor. It doesn't give a damn. I don't care what your armor is made out of, unless it is like super hardcore magically enchanted, that thing's going through. And it's gonna hurt. And it's difficult to break. It's a very, very powerful magic item. He also has the Dragon Horn, which the Dragon Horn is not really going to be relevant to this particular battle. It's more of a item that is specified for armies when he's trying to like rally his soldiers or frighten enemy soldiers and stuff like that. Against Miao Ying, it's not going to do much. Of course, he rides on Manathnir, his big scary dragon, and Manathnir is no ordinary dragon. He is a star dragon. And even among star dragons, Manathnir is a big boy. He's one of the oldest dragons that the High Elves can still awaken to do battle. And he is a terrifyingly strong individual. Very, very powerful, nasty starfire breath. And of course, is more than capable of going toe-to-toe with greater demons because he's just strong. And he's tough. and he can take a lot of hits. So the two of them will have to work together in order to overwhelm Miao Ying's magical abilities and her own little tricks. It is worth noting that Miao Ying is considerably older than probably either of them. Manathnir is a star dragon, so he's definitely many thousands of years old. But from what context clues we have, it seems that Manathnir was probably hatched more like 5,000 years ago, 4,000 years ago, whereas Miao Ying is well into the 7+ category. Because Miao Ying actually got to be around before the Great Cataclysm. So those are the matchup. Now, there's one thing that's critical to this debate that we have to talk about, and it's weird because of the stupid shipping, which is the Master of Dragons rule. So Emmerich, due to his bloodline, and the fact that he is very, very gifted at something known as the Dragon Song, which is something that was invented by Calidor the First, not Calidor the First, Calidor Dragon Tamer, which was like the wizard Calidor, who's stuck in the vortex. The Dragon Song is a very, very, very powerful enchantment, where basically the elves are able to, it's not really like it doesn't tend to be a literal song, it's more of a reference to like a magical aura, you could think of it that way, that basically allows the elves of Calidor to attempt to dominate dragons just through kind of this sheer willpower that they're able to exert through the Dragon Song. And the Dragon Song was used in the past to dominate dragons against their will. It didn't go well, but they did do that once, and it got ugly. When that dragon suddenly was not under control anymore, it did not go well for anybody involved. But it can be used to do that. There's even been evidence of it being used to dominate merworms during the War of the Beard. So the question is, because it would just instantly end this fight, and I'm asking this to Nathan because we're going to discuss it now. Nathan, do you think the Master of Dragons, the Dragon Song, would work on Miao Ying?
Well, it's kind of tough though, because all former lore would point to it working. But then when we started, when we had our big interview with Andy and we started talking about the subspecies and so on, they seem to be more powerful than standard dragons.
Right, and I kind of had a similar crisis where it's like, we know for a fact the Dragon Song works on dragons, merworms, even the like pissed off ancient dragons of the old world, but it's Western beasts that are all tied to that common ancestor, right? But the thing is that we can't say for certain, and I would actually go ahead and argue that based on our discussions with Andy Hall and what little tidbits of lore we've been able to gain from him, I don't think it would work on Miao Ying, because I think they're too different of a species. And it's also worth noting that Miao Ying herself can wield magic. And I think that the Dragon Song would not be as effective, or at least it would really struggle to work on something like Miao Ying. And we also should note that just because it makes it, generally speaking, it prevents a dragon from attacking Emmerich, not necessarily his dragon. So Miao Ying could go after Manathnir. They have a big fight. And then if she manages to slay Manathnir, assuming that doesn't just kill Emmerich instantly if they're in the sky, but assuming Emmerich survives that fall, Miao Ying could turn into a human and fight him then. And then it would have absolutely no effect, because she is biologically human at that point, to the point that she can even mate and have kids with other humans, which dragons definitely can't and shouldn't do.
It's a weird thing. Like, if anyone from GW is watching, give us the book so we can understand it a little better.
Yeah, it's critical. Like, you're making, like, man, we can't even have good discussions. Y'all have to send it to us. Like, it's really critical.
It's needed now.
It's
very strange, because they're supposed to be, as far as we were aware, they're just different things, different subspecies, but the power level's different. Then it makes me wonder, like, because obviously the way we always thought, like, the biggest, strongest were what? Star dragons and Emperor dragons, right? Because Emperor dragons could wield loads of magic and stuff like that.
Yep.
They could be a level 4 wizard as far as we were.
Yep.
So every time I look at Miao Ying and all that, it's kind of like, fuck, like where is this power level? Where with that? And if she's so strong and the brother's so strong, how strong are the parents?
So I would definitely say that based on what evidence we have, Miao Ying is on par with an Emperor class dragon. But and this is where I think the fight's going to get interesting. So let's for the sake of it not just like instantly being over due to a kind of a gimmick, assume that her ability we'll kind of give it halfway, right? Let's be fair. Let's not remove Emmerich's ability. Let's say that if Miao Ying is in her dragon form, she can't attack Emmerich directly, but she can still attack Manathir. And if she's in her human form, she can attack Emmerich.
Okay.
So the thing is, I think the Cathayan dragons would be considered Emperor class due to their age, due to their magical abilities. But the thing is about the Cathayan dragons is I think physically, I actually think they're weaker than their Western cousins.
Oh yeah, they're much skinnier and so on. Like,
Yeah, they're much smaller.
Yeah.
Like they're definitely strong, and I think they could like throw down with them fairly. But I do think when we're dealing with so now going into let's kind of deal with this initial big matchup of, okay, Miao Ying has to deal with Manathir. So with Emmerich riding Manathir, able to lend aid by stabbing with the Dragon Lance, and of course Emmerich does have very good armor protecting him. It's unfortunately his armor is more designed to deal with Dragon Fire. So Miao Ying's lightning is probably going to be pretty good for, hurting him if she can hit him with it. But the two of them have actually fought a lot of really terrifying enemies over the years. They fought greater demons. Malekith is terrified of Emmerich. Malekith refuses to fight him. For good reason. And Emmerich is kind of seen as this indomitable force in Ulthuan. In that there really hasn't been a creature that's been able to go toe-to-toe with him and survive.
Yeah.
Like when it comes to just pure raw damage output, Emmerich is literally the top tier combat enemy in Ulthuan. Like even Tyrion cannot unleash as much devastation as Emmerich can.
Yeah.
Just because he rides a dragon. So
it's also very important for people who might not read the books and might not be into the tabletop stuff where you get more context, because obviously Total Warhammer gives you a little bit of stuff, but like the power levels aren't really showcased in the game as well as they are in lore.
No, everyone's much more balanced, otherwise the game would be stupid. Like no one, I don't know how many people want to play a game where Lord Mazdamundi just like does this and a settlement just blows up. Let's focus on battle begins. Miao Ying's up in the air. She's in dragon form. Manathir and Emmerich are up in the air. He's got his lance ready. Throwdown happens. How are you feeling about it?
Can she cast?
Let's say she can. Maybe her magic is stronger in human form, but she still can. But we know she can cast in dragon form.
All right. I don't know if she can cast, but then again, her spells are quite defensive, so it's not really going to be too aggressive. I don't know, man. I still think that Imrik could go in and do quite a lot because big dragon, extra help with 2 attacks and going into 1. She'll have to heal, but she can't really. She doesn't really have a lot of damage output, does she? She doesn't have a lot of.
No, her spells do rely. They are. You're right. They're very reactionary or defensive focused. Like she can definitely do things to make herself tougher. With like flesh to stone type spells, and she can heal herself. And the lore of Yin is kind of a lore that focuses around obfuscation, right? She could cast spells that make Manathir much slower, and Manathir is already pretty slow. Like Miao Ying's definitely gonna have the speed advantage in a dragon on dragon fight, though Emmerich himself is absurdly quick. So, we have kind of this clash of Manathir versus Miao Ying is that classic matchup of strength versus speed. But Emmerich does kind of help narrow that gap because he himself is very, very fast, very skilled, and he's going to be able to land some of those lance hits. Dude knows what he's doing. He specializes in fighting against other draconic-sized entities.
Mm.
However, Miao Ying, as we've noted, does have the ability to heal herself, and Manathir and Imric won't. So any damage Manathir or Imric are taking, that sticks. Whereas any damage Miao Ying takes, she can actually heal and regenerate a bit. So it kind of comes down to, do you think that Imric and Manathir working together would be able to land a telling blow on Miao Ying to take her down and like really take her down so that she wouldn't be able to heal? Or do you think that Miao Ying would be able to keep them at enough of a distance and kind of like keep the fight even enough that she would be able to sustain her way through it?
I don't know, man. Like, if we go by it this way, like, if we look at it, Imric is trained to deal with big beasties. He's likely been prepared because he is aware, like, the elves would still be aware of what leads Cathay and what defends Cathay and so on. So he's likely been studying them any way he can.
Oh yeah, and we know there are elven colonies in Cathay. Like there are elves that live there, and they trade with Cathay quite often. So yes, he would. There's no way he would not be aware of them.
He's definitely got eyes and ears there, and he knows what they're capable of. I'd say if he can just basically slam his dragon into her, she's kind of gone. No?
Phrasing.
No, but you know what I mean.
No, yeah, I can absolutely see where you're coming from. I do have the poll up in my chat as we're kind of discussing. If you want to get the poll up in yours, just to see how people are feeling about it. But kind of coming down to it. So we're kind of arriving at this critical point. Who are you gonna pick for the winner, and why specifically? Like, what's the situation you think would play out for why that person would win?
Raw brute strength coming from a very old dragon and an elf being trained up to basically deal with big monsters. I'd have to go with Imric, and I just kind of see it that way. I don't like elves, believe me. I do not like high elves, but I think Imric is a badass, and he's always been a fucking badass. So he gets my vote.
Yeah, I can absolutely see that. Like, you have Miao Ying, Manathir flying through the skies. Manathir has dealt with, like, Manathir is used to dealing with faster opponents because he slows balls because he's just old. Elven dragons, the older they get, the slower they tend to get, but they also get much tougher and stronger. It's kind of the trade-off, is that they get much larger, but because of that, they're not as quick-blooded as they used to be. So you have this showdown, the two of them fly up into the sky, and Miao Ying's blasting them with magic, but of course Manathir is very, very tough, can sustain through it. His fire, she's able to regenerate through that, if not outright dodge it. The lightning shoots, Manathir can tank it and protects Imric. And then you get that critical moment where the two of them start, Manathir or Miao Ying manages to grab a hold of the other. You have this big duel breaking out, and then Emmeric's able to thrust that lance forward and pierce her heart or pierce her throat or something and kill her. And I'm gonna take, because it's tradition, the contrarian opinion. I think Miao Ying would come out on top. Not in that sense. In that, I think the thing about Miao Ying is I think her magic would be the absolute key to her claiming victory, because we know how devastating magic is. And Miao Ying is one of the very rare characters who is that level of strength while still being a wizard. Which is fairly rare in fantasy. Typically, wizards aren't the best in combative scenarios, or they rely on some kind of steed or mount or creature. But she's the whole package. And I think for her, she has also spent the last 7,000+ years fighting greater demons and probably fighting rogue dragons that have, like, I bet she's fought chaos dragons that come out of the north. I bet they've fought all sorts of just horrible, nasty things. And at the Great Bastion, she probably has more combat experience than any of her siblings. So with Miao Ying, you kind of have this situation of she has more combat experience than Manathir and Imric. And I think she would be able to use that to her advantage, along with her superior speed and agility and with her more serpentine form. If all she really has to do to gain a huge advantage is take out Manathir's wings. Manathir's wings are a pretty vulnerable spot, especially because he's not really like the best at dodging. He's more of like a hard tanker. And granted, she'd have to deal with Emmerich stabbing her every once in a while, but she can heal through that using her magic, especially because Emmerich doesn't have any magic of his own to turn the tide. and stop her. So if she's able to sustain herself through those Starlance pokes, I genuinely think her main focus would be to shred Menathnir's wings, force him down to the ground, and that's going to give her such a key advantage in being able to just lash down at them and strike, retreat, strike, retreat, strike, retreat. And without them being able to fly, any damage that happens to them is going to stick. And I think that's what would inevitably doom them. And as soon as Emmerich's by himself, all she has to do is turn into human form and then just, you know, magic him, Talons of the Night him, and he would get ripped to pieces. Especially because the poor boy has a big old giant freaking lance that is not going to work on foot. Like, yeah, he carries a sword in case the lance shatters or something, but you know, so that's how we ended up. My chat ended up 63% in favor of Miao Ying being victorious.
I've got 58% in favor of Miao Ying.
Oh, interesting. Okay. All right. So great discussion. I'm so glad we could shatter everyone's ship and make them kill each other. It's great, you know, freshen it up a little, add a little spice.
There was a lot of weird stuff going out with that. I don't get these ships that happen. I really don't.
Dude, this is tame compared to what exists in the Warhammer fan community.
Oh, yeah.
Like, this is, at least this one's like vaguely plausible.
I've seen the weird shit on 4chan. I've seen it. It's strange.
Yeah. So like, listen, like, is it? I don't know why. Well, no, I know exactly why people latched onto it so hard, but I do find it funny. But hey, I mean, to be fair to the shippers, Games Workshop did literally come out and say, hey, we created dragon creatures that can turn into hot humans, and they, in the canon, have entire harems that have lasted for thousands of years to produce so many kids that it's a generic lord choice. Like, damn, man. That's prime shipping material right there.
Someone in GW was very frustrated for a while.
Someone in GW has been watching too much anime.
Yeah.
But in any event, that's going to be it for who would win today. I apologize to Rodrigo if he decides to draw a picture for this week. So in any event, let's move on to some other topics. So the next thing is, of course, you good?
I was going to say, right before, let me get some water. This whole no smoking thing for 2 days. I've been drinking pints and pints and pints. Go. Yeah, just 1 sec.
So proud of him. I know that I can't, like, I know that's so hard. I can't even imagine. Never touched a cigarette in my life, but I know a lot of people that have. I hope it's hard.
There we go.
All right, all good?
Yep.
Okay, so first topic for today is, of course, a new week has passed. A Thursday has passed, which means a new embargo is dropped. And now me and Nathan can talk about Nurgle and Tzeentch. So, Nathan, who would you like to start with, and what are your thoughts so far?
But either way, both is good. We'll start off with Nurgle, because I was actually quite surprised with Nurgle.
How so?
Well, obviously, it's a very different style of campaign. Your buildings, God, that was kind of weird to get used to at the beginning, because obviously it's so different.
Yeah, so for anyone that hasn't caught a stream, the way Nurgle works is he's very unique. He's probably the most unique faction in the game now, which is that Nurgle does not build buildings in a traditional sense. Well, he does, but it stops there. So Nurgle settlements, you build a single structure that is very expensive. But once it is built, the building upgrades itself for free every 3 to 4 turns or 5 turns, depending on where you are in your campaign, what upgrades you have. And every time the building evolves, it will gain its effects will change a little bit, like they'll get a little stronger. And whatever unit is applied to that building will drop into your recruitment pool. And as it evolves, eventually it'll reach a point where it resets back to the first stage and starts all over. So you have these cyclical buildings where all you do is you build the very first building, and then that's it. You're hands off for the rest of the campaign. You just let it cycle. The only thing you got to do is by upgrading the main building in the settlement, you allow the cycle to go longer and longer. If it has that available. So for instance, there's a building that like gives you plague bearers. But once you get your main settlement building up to like tier 3, it reaches the point where it can cycle long enough that you start getting exalted plague bearers. And it's a very interesting but strange system.
Mhm.
I like it because I do like it a lot. It's very, very different. And it's certainly not like OP by any means, just because the base buildings are so expensive. Like, I think the cheapest ones are like 2,500 for like your basic bitch infrastructure buildings, but like the most basic military is 5K, and then for like the good ones it's either 10K or 15, which is very, very pricey.
So there's a way to kind of work around that though. Actually, this was from Monsters Abound, because we were discussing when we finally started playing as Nurgle, and you can kind of work against that quite early on if you go into the realm of Slaanesh and take the gift. You can get a lot of money from it.
That's true, but you can do that with any campaign. I genuinely we'll come back to that. We'll come back to the realm of Slaanesh. We'll just hash it out now. I will say I think it's the best realm by far because it actually challenges the player. Not because it's difficult, like gameplay wise, but because the choices are genuinely tempting.
Yeah, it's literally how fucking greedy are you?
Like, it's not difficult in a traditional sense. It's difficult for you, the person, not gameplay wise, which I think is just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant game design.
Mm. It was definitely very different, but it does help with Nurgle if you're trying to get some stuff built up. It's I was surprised because obviously that was the case. Nurgle's also really slow, but they can pack a punch. They can pack a punch.
Yeah, one thing that was interesting is I think a lot of us were kind of expecting Slaanesh to be the super hardcore armor-piercing faction, but that's not really the case. Nurgle is kind of like the kingpin of armor-piercing. Slaanesh's units, from what we've seen in the mixed roster, seems to be more just like raw weapon damage. But which I think makes sense for the game, for a switch, because Nurgle is so slow that like you need a way to deal with armor. Because you don't have any shooting, you don't have any chariots, you don't have any like crazy fast cavalry that are also like super high tier. Like, you got a bunch of fat boys. But like, have you been enjoying the campaign? Like the roster? Like, is there anything besides the buildings that's kind of stuck out to you?
Well, yeah, it's interesting. It's different. It's kind of. I think it's also been the one campaign which I've been like, ooh, I need to see if I want to actually make it a great unclean one, or I want to stay as a herald, because at least the herald can fly, you know.
Yeah, definitely probably has one of the most extreme choices there. And I will say there are a number of things I really, really like about how they did Nurgle. I do like Nurgle's sustainability is just nuts. Like the health he had, like Nurglings have like 8,000 health or something like that. He also he's the only demon that has like tons and tons of healing thanks to his lore of magic. And of course, he also has death magic, which is a very nice. It actually combos very nicely with the lore of Nurgle. Stacking those two together, lore of Nurgle is great. Actually, all the demon lores are solid, but some of the big standouts for me are Kugoth. I love Kugoth. Starting off with an artillery lord at rank 1, it's so awesome.
Yeah.
Especially for Nurgle, because you need it. And I also like that he could fire while moving. So like, because your army is so slow, it's not unusual for the AI to play defensively and kind of wait for you. So with Kugoth, it's actually not as bad as it would be, because as you're moving towards the enemy, he's chucking Nurglings the entire time. He's interesting. I will say, I think the only thing that stood out to me with Nurgle is that he doesn't seem to have any anti-large at all.
That's all, yeah. Like, the army is well-rounded. Like, you've got some decent shock troops, even with the Forsaken. But No anti-large at all. It's kind of weird. I've looked through the roster, and it's like
Not a single one.
at all.
That being said, like, he doesn't necessarily need it, because, like, while he doesn't have anti-large, he does have Mortis Engine effects, where he does damage to being in combat, and he has some brutal single entities with some brutal abilities. Because the thing about Nurgle that's very sinister is you look at him, you go, oh, he's really slow, like his damage is good, but like I'm kind of worried he's not going to be that good. But the thing is, you don't realize how much health he has until you're trying to burn through it. And the other thing about Nurgle is that the debuffs that he has is just stupid. Like oh, okay, he's got fly, so when he enters combat he gets way more melee defense. He also has slime trail on quite a few single entities, which lowers melee attack and speed. Like, it is actually not hard at all for Nurgle to run up to elite units, and his units will be at like 40 plus melee defense, and he can easily knock your melee attack to 0. Which is just like, because the biggest thing for Nurgle is 2 things in my opinion. Slime trail, or 3 things, a combo of 3 things. Slime trail, which just passively nukes all enemies melee attack and speed. Cloud of Flies, which passively buffs all Nurgle's melee defense as long as he's in combat. And most importantly is the fly spell. The one of the most basic spells in the lore of Nurgle is this fly spell. I forget what it's called, but it's this spell that I think it's Cloud of Corruption or something like that. You throw it on an enemy and it nukes their melee attack. But it's very cheap, and if you overcast it, once again, still being very cheap, it's a huge AoE. And then there's healing under that. Like, Nurgle is just the king of sustained combat. Plus, tons of units in his roster have poison. And we also talked about kind of those necrotic effects with like kind of a Mortis Engine effect, where when he's in combat, he's dealing damage constantly. He's a very, very nasty boy. Like, very strong grinding effects. I think Nurgle is actually probably the most horrifying to go up in like, Nurgle's probably the best at defending in sieges, because he can literally just castle around important points and let the towers do all the damage while he just sits there and stays alive. But I do like him a lot. And oh dude, the plague crafting system, so much fun.
Plague crafting is fun. You can get it spreading really quick without really noticing. Because I had it at one point that it was just spreading all throughout Kislev and so on. I'm like, I remember I landed it on Cracker Drac because I moved my forces.
Oh yeah, and it'll just go.
Yeah, it just kind of snowballed. It was nice. I think Kugath has bonuses towards that. No, the extra spreading chance.
I believe he does have some. I think there's a skill in his skill tree that does it, or one of his army, or one of his faction effects. But there's also like a huge tech tree buff you can get for it. And there's also like, you can unlock plague effects that just make your plagues like spread easier or last longer. I mean, I know my personal favorite combo is getting the plagues that last, or is getting it where I get a plague and then I make it where it lasts 3 extra turns and it makes money every time it infects a new target. Like, oh, so good. It's so good.
The bonuses were really, really good.
Like, the fact that they made a disease trait where you can add traits onto, when you craft a plague, you pick one of 5 basic plagues, and then you can add 2 augment diseases to it. So like, you can make a plague, and then you can make it where it causes like attrition damage if it doesn't already, and slows the enemy, or it generates money every time it spreads, or it generates bonus Nurgle corruption, or maybe it like lasts longer, or it has a higher chance of spreading, or if a friendly army is infected with it, it allows you to summon units onto the battlefield, or improves your stats. Like, it has a lot of really cool things. But the fact that they gave you the money making one, I think is just so awesome, because Kugath can legit have like one of the best economies. Like, just spreading disease everywhere.
Yeah, it's weird because you start off weak in terms of economy, and then if you play your cards right and you plan off a little bit, you can snowball in terms of cash, like no issues.
Yeah, and it's very different from like Scarbrand snowballing. You know, Scarbrand is the kind of the classic Beastman Warrior Chaos. You're always probably going to be in debt, but you have so much money that you make from killing that it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Whereas Kugoth is more that like, no, your economy is like booming.
Mm.
But yeah, I like him.
Yeah.
I do think he's not going to be for everyone. Nurgle has a very particular play style. Like there are
Mm.
different ways to play Nurgle. Like you can kind of like have a you can go very artillery heavy once you have Kugoth and Soul Grinders. You can also have like a very strong air force if once you're able to get plague drones. With some pretty nasty shooting attacks also on the plague drones and the exalted plague bearers. Those death heads, very short range, but they hurt. But Nurgle's a very slow burn
Yeah.
faction. Like you are not going to expand very quickly. You're going to need a ton of money just to like it. It's an interesting faction. I don't think it's going to be for everyone. I personally like it a lot, but it's definitely not for everyone.
It's yeah. I mean, you can expand quickly, but you have to be pretty frugal. And one thing I told everyone when I released my video is like, make sure that you work with as much as you can, especially infrastructure buildings, because growth is so fast, especially with Kulgav's buff there. Because I guess what was it, five growth every province for all provinces per battle he wins, right?
Yeah, he gets explosive growth.
Yeah. And it's insane because for every province, and you can just easily throw yourself into, say, for example, what I did early on is I took Kogath down to Kislev because I knew everyone was going to go attack me. And yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah,
Plus, I
plus
wanted to stay away from Kairos.
yeah, well, and there's like a super basic, like one of the earliest things you get with Kugoth is literally pick a province and just like you get plus 25 growth per settlement that gets infected with this disease.
Mm-hmm.
And so 4 settlements, that's 100 growth per turn. Like Jesus Christ. Yeah, his Nurgle is all about that growth. The thing you need with Nurgle is money.
Yeah.
That's the big challenge for him is how to afford everything. But I think that's enough about the fat boy. Let's talk Tzeentch. How are you liking Kairos?
Very strong. Very, very, very strong. I know a lot of people have been going, "Oh yeah, Corn's broken," but like Kairos can throw out a lot of shit, man.
Kairos, like people saw it on my stream this morning. Kairos can win battles he has no right winning.
Yeah.
By just because you can get practically infinite magic if you play your cards right.
Yeah, it is insane. Have you done any what were the Storm of Magic battles with Kairos yet?
No, I haven't. Those must be so stupid.
They are, dude. They are. I have a line of Exalted Pink Horrors, Kairos, and then two Iridescents flying around next to him, and I'm just it's like a fucking gun show. It's insane.
Yeah, Kairos is kind of nuts.
Yeah.
Like plus the lore of Tzeentch spells are just so much damage. They're so like literally we were playing a fight where I got into this huge battle and the AI was like kind of reforming, so I dropped the Gates of Tzeentch and I got nearly 500 kills off a single cast.
Oh, geez.
Which is like
is that the stationary one?
yeah, that's the one that stays still and does just like it like sucks people into it so they can't get out. It just does like so much damage. But the big thing is that so the thing about Kairos that in my opinion just makes him kind of obscene is his starting army ability, which is that whenever you deal damage with a spell, you fill up this meter, and when you use the meter's ability, you click it on a wizard, and it not only makes your power. It not only allows you to take the magic you have in reserve and make it available faster, it refills your reserves. And that's on top of if you have Glean Magic, which allows you to steal magic from the enemy, which is like really not cool. But it's awesome if you're playing Tzeentch. And he's like his shooting is devastating.
Yeah.
Like it's not it's horrifying, especially if you smack someone with a spell, because then they have Warp Flame on them and then they just die instantly.
Yeah. Like a lot of people were a bit confused with Tzeentch because I said it in my video. It's like, oh yeah, he's very strong. And like, no, it's not. It's like, no, yeah, it definitely is. You can even blue horrors, which are supposed to be your weakest unit, can turn into absolute devastating pieces of shit, man. It is scary.
Yeah, like I don't deny that like Khorne is like pretty decent at screwing with Tzeentch. thanks to lots of spell resistance and lots of like pretty fast melee infantry, Slaanesh just craps on Tzeentch. But like everybody else in the game, Cathay, Kislev, Nurgle, it's a bad time when Tzeentch rolls up. Like, you know, it's like, oh god, I hope I have some cavalry. Because if you don't have a lot of fast stuff to like get on him to stop him, like his shooting isn't crazy long range, but it's like, so like if you have a lot of like good, like if you were playing dwarfs and you had a lot of like crossbow or Cathay and you have a lot of crossbowmen, you could outrange him and like you could just beat the snot out of him. But the problem with Tzeentch is that virtually every single unit in his army is going to be shooting at you. Whereas most armies, they're like, oh, I need some melee units and I need some shooting units. Like, Tzeentch, you're just like, no, my melee is blue horrors, which also shoot. And then when they're out of ammo, they're a meat shield. And then, you know, my pink horrors are behind them. But he's very fun. Tzeentch is stupid fun. His tech tree is a little wild. Compared to everybody else, but it's not. I'm really glad they changed the way teleport stance is, where you have it at the beginning, but it just gets better when you upgrade it in the tech tree. I think the original concept for it was that you just didn't have it at all, and it takes a while to get it. For that tech, like that tech, I think even if you were to optimize it, it's probably like 20 to 40 turns to get to it if you just ran to it as fast as you could. But the system to screw with the AI is super fun, and I am genuinely so happy that the AI can also use it. I've actually played quite a few campaigns where Tzeentch faction will steal one of my settlements, or they stop me from moving for a turn, and it's annoying, but like it makes Tzeentch feel like a threat. I feel like if this had been Warhammer 1 or even Warhammer 2, they would have made it where the AI couldn't do that. Because like I don't know if I have a specific example to mind, but like I guess Deathmaster Snitch, right? Like, I don't think I've ever seen the Deathmaster Snitch AI actually use his abilities.
I think he can. But, like, it's supposed to be really rare. Because I had this campaign a long, long time ago where I saw the Deathmaster was fighting against Grimgor. Grimgor had pretty much the majority of the Badlands. And then he turned into rebels. Which was bizarre. Like, really bizarre.
Yeah, I think that, someone in chat said that as well. Well, and it's probably because the AI is so slow about leveling its characters, generally speaking. Like, the AI is really bad about, like, spam leveling legendary lords. So that probably plays into it, because Deathmaster Snitch's campaign, his tactic, or his abilities are locked behind Deathmaster's personal levels. So that's probably a big reason why. But, another person says that Ikit's AI starts with a nuke, but then he can never make any more. Which is dumb. Like, he should be able to make nukes. Because it just makes him scary and fun to play against. Anyway, so, but, like, I think Tzeentch is great. The machinations are fun. You can do some, like, you get access to... I love that you basically start with the Take Settlements one, or you get it, like, almost immediately. Which is very nice, because it's a strong tech, or a strong ability, but... like, they have some very smart restrictions on it. So so you can steal a settlement from a faction and give it to anybody else. But the thing is that to steal a settlement, you have to be able to see it. It cannot be their racial capital. And also, like, specific kinds of buildings. Like, you can't steal the Great Bastion from anybody. But, like, so you can't steal a capital. So, like, if you fought the dwarves, you couldn't steal Karasakadak from them. But you could steal anything else. But... the thing about it is, when you steal a settlement, depending on how much Tzeentch corruption there is, and also how friendly that race is with the race you're giving it to, will determine the price. And you cannot give a settlement to a faction that faction that you're stealing from is at war with. So there are some very clever restrictions on it. And if you're just trying to steal a settlement that's, like, far away from you and give it to, like, yourself or somebody that has not great diplomacy with that faction, it is ludicrously expensive. Like, it could be like 10,000, or I like just an obscene amount of grimoires, which would be a huge waste unless you were just really determined to be a jerk. But like, I think they're great. Kairos is super fun. He's very strong. I think Kugoth is less strong, but the plague system gives him just a lot of really cool abilities and a lot of customization on how you play your campaign, and he's a good time.
we're seeing a lot of differences, obviously, with all the different factions. Because so far, what we've seen the Demon Prince, we've seen Nurgle, we've seen Khorne, we've seen Tzeentch, and obviously Grand Cafe. They're all very, very different, which I think is something quite positive, you know? Because if we would have looked at Warhammer 1, everyone was the same, let's be honest. Just different, same.
No, you're definitely right. Warhammer 1, there was very little variance between the different races and factions. And of course, Warhammer 2 was less so. Like
better, yeah.
Yeah, but this game is like it's totally out of the park.
Yeah, which makes me it makes me hope for the future when it comes to potential reworks and all that, because God, some races do need it. But what I've noticed is, and maybe that's just me, but are you fighting more in the game?
Yes, much more.
Yeah,
it's much more exciting. And I think minor settlements are a huge part of that, where I'm not just fighting land battles endlessly anymore. And also, I think they also did a clever thing where like the auto resolve is like the higher it seems to change depending on your difficulty. Because I've played easy campaigns and I've played very hard, and legendary, and it definitely changes depending on your difficulty. And if you're on a high difficulty, like you can auto resolve to like speed things up, but it's gonna punish you for it. It's gonna make you. It's gonna be like, all right, you can skip this, but like it's gonna hurt.
Yeah, definitely. Like I've noticed that. I'm currently playing a Demon Prince campaign, and I'm near the end, but like I realized I needed to be smarter with my armies. I couldn't like just auto resolve. Even when I got to like pretty decent stacks, like I just couldn't auto resolve.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're just taking like obscene losses, and like when you're in the realm of chaos, like it's very risky to auto resolve in the realm of chaos.
Definitely.
Yeah, but I think thanks for the raid. Sorry, Rangers, we're doing a podcast. Hello, this is Lorebeards. I'm Loremaster of Sotek. This Great Book of Grudges, also known as Nathan. Hello. So thank you for the raid. Hope you're all doing well. Welcome. So in any event, I think it's pretty good for that. So let's talk. We got one last little thing to go over before we get into kind of the big discussion, which is let's talk about LVO real quick. So of course, for anyone that's been wasn't aware, that we had the Las Vegas Open this last weekend, or I think it finished today, which is one of the major tournaments for Games Workshop. They also did an LVO show where they showed off some new releases. It was an interesting show. I think most people probably had a little like I had a great time. I enjoyed what was shown, but it was a lot less than what I was expecting. Especially on like the 40K side of things.
Well, this is GW, right? Like, and all respect to them and so on, but this is a company who goes, guys, it's going to be the biggest event ever, and it's like 4 miniatures. You know?
Yeah, and I think that's what kind of like was weird about it, is there was so much like build up that they did for being like, it's gonna be huge, and then it's like they did an announcement. Like they had 2 announcements where they basically didn't show any minis. Like they were like, look, kill team, here's one member of this kill team set, and then hey, yeah, here's Necromunda, and we're not going to show you shit. It's like, what? Why'd you even show it then?
That really did fuck me off, because I'm a fan of Necromunda, and they're like, oh yeah, look, we're going out of the city, we're going into the Ash Waste. You know, this is Gorka Morka, but we're not calling it Gorka Morka. And then, fuck it, you're not seeing shit yet. It's like, what?
Yeah, like they had that cool little movie building up to this cowboy themed war band, and I was like, oh, this will be cool. And then they're like, and it's gonna be great later. It's like, what?
It is really silly. Then we start getting like the kill team thing. I got confused about, because in theory, what I've been told is that they are they're a mix. So this new Eldari faction is a mixture of Drukhari and
they're Eldar Corsairs, so they're like a almost mercenary feel.
So are we just gonna start hyping up for another Eldar faction? Like, we already have 4, don't
Well,
we?
yeah. Well, apparently Eldar Corsairs are like super like requested. So I don't think they're going to be a full faction, which is probably why they're getting the kill team treatment. But you'll probably be able to take them with the other Eldari factions.
Yeah.
If it works like Warhammer Underworlds. That being said, like the mini look cool. I'm down for space elf pirates. Like, all right. Treasure planet, here I come.
Eldar needed a desperate update, so like I'm all for it. I think it's awesome. Like the problem is that it's like strange. Why are you only showing one?
Yeah, and that was the thing. Like, it's we know it's a team versus team box set, and I think there's been pretty heavy leaks saying that it's basically Chaos Space Marines versus Eldar
Yeah,
Corsairs.
it is. Yeah.
I don't know if they've officially announced that or whatever, but
It was they had it on the actual web address. It was Eldari Corsairs versus Chaos Space
of
Marines.
course. So like I don't know. I feel like they should have just shown the entire Eldar team at least, and then they could have showed the Space Marines later. It was weird showing a single mini, being like, "Doesn't this look great?" Well, that's all you get.
Yeah.
But on to the better parts of the show. We did, of course, get a new Horus Heresy mini. My most hated character that Games Workshop has ever created, Kabanda.
Oh, I love him so much.
Fuck Kabanda. Piece of garbage.
I love him so much. He looks so cool.
He looks great. I've never seen a Bloodthirster with that big of a tail. His tail is huge.
Oh yeah. Like, this guy, he's big dicking all over the place, man.
Oh, is that what it is? It's not a tail. So okay, for anyone that's wondering why I hate Kabanda, let me get a little bit of context here. It has nothing to do with 40k. The reason I hate Kabanda is because during the Warhammer Fantasy End Times, which was a garbage fire for the most part, it had some good moments, but most of it was garbage fire. The ending was notorious because they had this huge build up to each of the dark gods kind of had a moment in the sun. Like Slaanesh and Tzeentch didn't really get a huge moment in the sun, but Nurgle had a huge moment where he got like the Glotkin and all this stuff. And then when we got to Khorne, we hadn't seen Skarbrand yet. Unless you read one of the accompaniment novels, which was like this total side thing from Black Library. It had like you didn't have to read it. It wasn't really relevant to the game. But if you didn't read those books, you wouldn't realize that Kabanda basically like appeared and died immediately, fighting Malekith. But so when we were building up, we got a new Skarbrand mini coming out with Book 5 Archaon. So a lot of us thought, oh my god, here comes Skarbrand. He's gonna be such a big deal. Because I think Skarbrand was part of the Bloodthirster kit, if I remember right. You could build as one of the 3 Bloodthirsters and then Skarbrand? Or is Skarbrand a separate kit? Someone in chat, let me know.
I'm going on the website now.
But in any event, I was expecting Skarbrand because he's like a big Warhammer Fantasy character. And what do? Well, the authors of the End Times had checked out at this point. they were totally effing around. They had set up all this stuff that wasn't going to pay off. He's separate. Okay, never mind on that point then. But they did all this just crazy shit. And what do? Well, Khorne sends out his big bad. Khorne sends out the 3rd Blood Hunt to track down and kill Karl Franz and the Council of Incarnates. This group that's so powerful that it's gonna smash its way into Athel Loren, where literally 7 of the 8 god figures are, and beat the crap out of them by themselves. And who does he send? Fucking Kabanda, who has never appeared in fantasy. He isn't a fantasy character. He has nothing to do with Warhammer Fantasy. He is very, very explicitly a 40k character. For fantasy, we had Skarbrand. Skarbrand was ours. Like, I think he also shows up in 40k, but he was ours. He was a big deal in fantasy. And so instead of using a character we already had, Skarbrand, or creating a character who is like important or unique to the Warhammer Fantasy universe, they took a 40k character and were like, OC, do not steal from this other IP, and just shoved him into fantasy, and he's literally the big bad of the book. Like, he's the final to an extent, he's the final boss of the second act.
Yeah.
So Kabanda, like, just to make it clear how important Kabanda is in this last book of the End Times, Kabanda appears, leads the attack into Athel Loren, obliterates Athel Loren. It's implied he kills Emmerich and the Sisters of Twilight, and all these other big characters. He fights his way into the center, where he goes toe-to-toe with Durthu, and Durthu's at god-tier power because he's killed Coadel and absorbed all the power of the Ancients. He's beating Durthu. Like, nobody can touch him. Like, all of the incarnates, who are literal gods at this point, can't hurt him. Like, they can, like, hurt him, but it's just, like, piss him off levels of hurt him, not actually hurt him. That's how stupid fucking powerful he is in this book. And so Teclis, in a moment of desperation, kills Lilith at her insistence to cast a big spell that teleports them all to Middenheim to get away from Kabanda, because he's so OP. And we get there, Kabanda kills one of the incarnates after fighting Durthu and the other incarnates and fighting armies and being wounded. And like, they keep doing that bullshit where like he gets dealt a huge wound and then it's just like, oh, it just makes me angrier, and then he gets a power upgrade for some reason. So he kills the incarnate of fire. He kills the god of fire, who at this point was Caradryan, because Ungrim died earlier to Archaon. So he kills him. So now there's no more incarnate of fire. And then it all ends up being built up to this kind of stupid moment where Sigmar finally gets Galmaraz back. He kills Prince Azazel, who shows up out of nowhere and then immediately dies. Sigmar's demonic brother-in-law. And then Sigmar goes out and Kabanda's like, angry, I just killed an incarnate, I'm unstoppable. And he charges Sigmar, and Sigmar one-shots him. Yeah. Sigmar just, and he's dead. And it's like, what the fuck just happened? What is this book? So that is why I hate Kabanda. Because he is literally a 40k insert character into fantasy, and for that, he should burn in the deepest pit of hell for all of eternity.
You see, I like the character because of his 40k stuff.
That's fine. That's a totally different Kabanda.
Yeah. Well, it's the reason, and this is something that's always been very heavily disputed. It's like some of the authors were trying to kind of shoehorn the last little bit of Warhammer Fantasy and Warhammer 40k are linked because of the warp. Because obviously we did get a lot of stuff like that with Nagash mentioning the Emperor of Mankind and the others just by a very little loose tidbits, you know?
Yeah, well, but it's stupid to make the connection that overt. Like, it's cute as an Easter egg thing.
Yeah.
But like, because if you do it to the extent they did it, it just fucking destroys both universes. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Oh yeah, but now I'm looking at the model and I'm going, I really want this in Total War.
You could do it, just mod him, and then when you play Scarbrand, his mini shows up. Or maybe he could be like your Exalted Bloodthirster.
Well, you see, I look at Kabanda because we're gonna need more Khornate characters. We don't have that many. If we look at it, there's like 8 different Bloodthirsters, all of which with like 2 lines of lore. Then there's Skulltaker, there's Valkyria, there's Karanak, which I'm sure the dog's not going to be a fucking legendary lord.
No, but we better get him. I need my good boy.
Yeah,
legendary hero. Like, give him to me.
But there's not really that much, and obviously, if we do want the really cool ones, you know, they're going to have to stop fucking going. Oh no, we're not going to do end time stuff. I promise. Because obviously, you know, Scar. So
this is actually a perfect segue because now we're into the final discussion for today, which is DLC. Which we've got a really cool thing to tell you about, but I want to capstone this discussion. So I will say, I do think that, I know this opinion isn't popular. I'm going to say it. No one's going to like it, but I'm going to say it. I don't think the Chaos God factions need more than like 4 to 5 legendary lords max.
Yeah.
Like Scarbrand, Skulltaker, Valkia,
Kabanda.
I'd rather have like maybe Ichil Steersborn.
Kabanda.
No, shut up. No, go back under your desk. No. Like I think Scar Bloodwrath should be saved for an AOS game because he's a weird. Or yeah, Arbal the Undefeated. Yeah, there you go. There's 5.
Yeah, but Arbal fits with Norska. You know. It's just
I don't
kind of
know.
cool.
He's kind of big for Norska. I feel like Norska needs to be more like monsters and like people that aren't fully decked out in armor riding demons. Like Arbol rides a fucking super flesh hound. He's a little much for Norska.
That could be his chaos pony. It's fine. We've
It's
already been
chaos
there.
pony. Oh god, I really hope we're getting a graphics update at some point that's going to make chaos steeds actual steeds.
I fucking hope so. Cause
Like, listen, CA, I love you. I realize you like to recycle assets, but when Warriors of Chaos are bigger than humans, you can't give them human-sized horses because it looks stupid.
yeah, it is. It's odd. I mean, it's historically accurate. Funny enough, because I think Party Elite posted that on Twitter when they started going with the horses around the time for the Middle Ages for us. So it's like, oh, this kind of makes sense.
Yeah, but I don't like looking at it.
Yeah. But no, like, there needs to be at least 4 DLC characters or FLC characters too for each of the gods. There needs to be variety. Skarbrand is cool, but Skarbrand, and they kind of did a nice thing with Skarbrand where they didn't make him a fucking dumbass because obviously in the
No,
lore,
they cleaned him up.
Yeah.
Well, they made him like he is in the. He shows up in Thankful's Doom, and they basically use the Thankful's Doom version.
Yeah.
Wish they had done that with Throg, but whatever.
Yeah. But like we need more. I want variety. I don't want another Bloodthirster unless it's going to be someone cool like a.
Well, no, I think the remaining characters we have are all very different. But let's talk about the exciting news. So Nathan, why don't you tell our lovely listeners here what happened?
What? What do you mean?
The article.
Oh, the article. Okay.
the thing that is why we're discussing this topic.
Right. Sorry. Fuck. So the Russians. Yeah. So obviously, there was a Russian interview with some of the developers, and it pointed to stuff that I pretty much thought we couldn't ask. Because
I mean, we could. I don't know. Like, I feel like game journalists get away with way more shit than we do.
Yeah. So the Russian article kind of confirmed outright Chaos Dwarfs, which at this point, if you didn't think Chaos Dwarfs were coming, fuck knows where you've been living, because I mean their lands are there.
Yeah, it's not like they carved out like a fifth of the map for a race that just so happens to live there.
Yeah, and then obviously there was some other type of interesting information there, like for example, where they mentioned DLC specifically for the Mortal Empires and so on, which is interesting
and great. And specifically race. They seem to be implying race DLC.
Yeah. So that means maybe Dogs of War, because obviously they're an army book we haven't seen. Yeah. But they did mention that they had come together for stuff that wasn't in that that never had an army book.
Well, that's where we are now. Anything they make from this point forward after Chaos Dwarfs, not an army book. Yeah. Well, Dogs of War is kind of but they're gonna have to like do some stuff with them. So let's talk possibilities, right? Let's get people unreasonably hyped about something that we probably don't have any clear information and won't see for months, right? Because that's a responsible thing to do as content creators. So here's what I'm thinking. Here's where I'm at. Naga of Koresh, chaos worshipping snakeman race with scary blood magic and very heavy Southeastern Asian themes. By the way, dear listeners, if you want to see something really, really cool, you can always go on to the Total War Reddit, where there are some artists that occasionally post. They have a fan project featuring around Koresh. I have some nitpicks with it, but it's a really, really good base to potentially make that race. Hobgoblin Khanate, pretty popular pick. Not in my highest 5, but like not in my top 5, but I could see it. To like, just because getting a faction that's very strongly focused on on that Mongolian theme and giving us like a really heavy faction that specifies around cavalry and chariots as opposed to just one or the other would be kind of interesting.
I'm just going to outright and say it though. Everyone's like, oh yeah, I want hobgoblins. The moment they realize that they have to play a fucking skirmish faction with goblins, they're going to hate it.
They're bigger goblins.
But they're all going to hate it. Because they don't do the fucking skirmish tactics with stuff that can give you the skirmish tactics. You don't see that with like the Wood Elves. They instead play gunline.
No,
Like,
yeah, I know it is funny that they're like, oh, I want a Hobgoblin Knight. It's like, so you want greenskin wood elves, but like
it's
only
literally
cavalry.
literally that.
But it is a possibility. You know, other races that are kind of looming on the horizon. As much as a meme as they are, deep ones, aka fishmen, it is possible, and they would be very interesting. I would love to see them. Of course, the Dogs of War. Granted, what is the Dogs of War? I think changes depending on who you ask. I know that I prefer it to be the Southern Realms plus Araby, because I think that's the only way we're going to get Araby in the game. I don't think Araby will ever be by itself.
They have been mentioned recently in dilemmas about Araby, and look, the sun rises. I believe.
Like I'd be happy to see it. I just don't like unless they make and this could be a thing. Unless they make like minor race packs where like it is a race, but it has a little less, and it's like 2 legendary lords, not 4. And it's more condensed to get like the core of the faction. And like be like, okay, like here's Araby, and they do have some like unique stuff going for them. But I will say, Cubicle 7 has Araby in the Dogs of War book.
See,
that's not
like
insignificant.
the idea. I like the idea of the whole minor race pack because, well, Araby would only need 2 lords. Same thing with like pretty much most places, because like we there isn't a lot of landmass left, is there?
Not unless they change the way the map looks. No.
Yeah, and if we go to, say, for example, like I'm still hoping for a Kurgan themed DLC, which I know is going to likely fall in like a Chaos Warriors, or they're just going to shoehorn them into Norsca because,
Yeah, and to finish the race thing, of course, for me, that's kind of like the viable list right now. And Naga of Koresh, Nippon, yeah, sure, Nippon, Deep Ones, Hobgoblin Khanate, and Dogs of War. I think those are the 6. Although some of them not more than others, I think those are the 6 believable choices for genuine standalone races.
Yeah. Plus, we've already started getting dilemmas in game that have been hinting. They've been hinting at Ind, which they kind of.
Ind is like all over the place.
Yeah, you get like 3. so many hints. It's amazing.
No, I didn't forget Albion. They just don't get to make the list because. Okay.
A lot of people like Albion.
I will like, like they're cool. Don't get me wrong. They would make some great mercenaries. I just don't see them being a full thing.
See, but that works though. Like if they, with the idea that you had of mini race packs, that could be a 1 or 2 legendary lord thing in Albion. Because Rakarth would have to be moved, yes, but Rakarth. I think I really hope that whatever we end up with in the future sees some lords getting moved. Like for example, Tzeentch needs to go to his fucking actual camp and not be in the Dark Elf territories. Because
I have mixed feelings on that. Like I kind of like Tzeentch there. Because if Tzeentch isn't there, then we just have no Skaven and Nagaroth.
I don't know, man. They can just like there is a lot of minor Skaven lords that they can just bring in, as FLC or something.
Yeah, but then they gotta waste money on more Skaven characters. Like Tzeentch is.
I'm not complaining. Like I'm not complaining.
Like I think Tzeentch is really. I'm honestly fine with Tzeentch just because he has the Undercity in. So like he can take over Crookback Mountain within like 10 turns. I don't think moving him is worth the effort.
Yeah.
Now I do agree there are a number of characters that need to be moved, but I think the biggest way to fix that is to give us the whole planet. Give us the whole planet, CA. Do it.
That would be nice, yeah.
Do it. Give us the whole planet. Because like the only reason Lustria Bowl is such a goddamn nightmare is because it's so squished. Yeah. If we had all of Southern Lustria and Western Lustria, where we had like the oceans all around it, they could like move everyone around and just be like, okay, some breathing room. And also same thing for the Southlands. Like for people that really want to see Araby, or like at least Dogs of War giving us like an Araby lord, because I need an Arabian legendary lord. I don't care how he gets in the game. I need at least one. I want like a cool badass.
Al Mukhtar, just bring me Al Mukhtar.
Al Mukhtar is not Arabian though. He's a Talayan.
No, still.
No, not still. I'd rather have the Golden Magus than Al Mukhtar.
But they confirmed wasn't the Golden Magus already confirmed dead though?
I haven't heard that.
One of the Arabian characters is dead in the Vampire Coast trailer. It's when they do the announcement with the map and so on.
Mm-hmm.
It was either the Golden Magus or someone else was dead.
Golden Magus is the only Arabian character.
No, there was a few. Let me just get up here.
In the Dreadfleet book?
No. It was just in general. It was a minor thing, but in the Curse of the Vampire Coast.
But I mean, I want a wizard. I want a wizard of Araby. That's something they're super famous for. Is like, give me like an Emir or a Sheik that's like this really badass sorcerer dude.
Was it this trailer or the other one?
They could bring back Jafar. They don't need to bring back Jafar. Jafar is a little too on the nose, I think.
I'm looking for it now. I mean, they could just bring back. Well, Jafar wouldn't work anyway because like I don't like this timeline fucking man. So don't bring me. Like, it's cool, Rapunzel is awesome and all that shit, but don't use that as an excuse to do that again.
So chat's saying Jago Roth is the guy who's dead. From
No. He's. I'm trying to find it. It's not on this one. I'm checking. I'm actually checking it as I'm talking to you guys. Oh, okay. It's just they did a lot of fucking trailers.
I mean, the big thing for me is that I just want Araby to have a fresh coat of paint. That's my biggest thing, is that like I really want them to get like a cool new character who represents Araby, isn't tainted by Tzeentch. Like maybe he has to like deal with some Tzeentchian stuff, and maybe he's like a little like he's not anti-Tzeentch per se, but I don't just want him to be a Tzeentch puppet, which is what the Golden Magus would have been. The Cathay treatment, yes, I want Araby to get the Cathay treatment. But like I'm
can have a new type of dragon that everyone can ship.
Not that one. not that part of the Cathay treatment. I would very much like to see Araby just get some love. But just because there's a lot of cultures that are kind of like smashed together to create Araby. But in any event, I do love that this article, and it's something we heavily suspected. You know, I don't think it's a huge surprise that we're going to see a lot more races. But I really hope they go all in on it. Like we know that Games Workshop is bringing back even more races for Warhammer the Old World. Like there's been mention of a Centaur race. We don't know the specifics of that, but like if they're cool, I'd be fine getting them.
Golden Magus, all fleet, all hands lost.
Interesting. Well, and that would make sense because the Golden Magus like pretended to die, where he lost himself in the maelstrom and started messing around with stuff. No pygmies. Nope.
Why does everyone keep wanting the fucking pygmies?
They don't. They just like being edgy dipshits. We need to make that one of our ban words, timeout words.
Listen, like if you guys want to be cringe and so on, I've been saying this on the Total War Discord and everything. You want Ind? It's Cat Boys from Ind.
I don't think people who are fans with End would appreciate that. You hear someone in the back being like, "That should be a Nippon unit. How dare you? How dare you restrict my cat femboys to End? How dare you, sir? That's cultural appropriation."
Right. Are you sure Al-Mukhtar was Talian?
Yeah. Yes, because I just read the 5th edition Dogs of War book where he's in it. He's a Talayan that like goes through. He's based on a myth from our world. I don't remember what the myth is called, but there's a myth in our world of a guy from like Europe, white dude from Europe who like ends up making his way to the Middle East and ends up becoming some kind of hero. After going through a lot of shit. Like, Al-Mukhtar's cool, but I don't like that he's not Arabian.
Then there must be a character. I know that there was
Lawrence of Arabia. Thank you. He's based on Lawrence of Arabia.
There must be something.
That's who Al Mukhtar is.
There must be one. I'm looking through a few places. It's just the fact is it was obviously as a culture we had a lot of lore, but it was shoehorned into the Bretonian Crusade stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got a few things.
We
but
haven't
just
really
never
gotten
that
to
much.
like Games Workshop just didn't really say much about Araby after the Crusades. Like, it's been a few hundred years.
Midas the Mean. He's Arabian.
Midas the Mean. That he is alive. Yes.
Yeah.
Midas the Mean is still around.
Yeah.
He's not. Once again, I think I would prefer like some kind of wizard, but because like here's my thought, and I'll say this, and if you agree with me, great. If you don't, that's also cool. I would love to get like an Estalian Queen, Borgio the Besieger for Talea, some sort of like douchebag, asshole, mercenary focus, maybe like black powdery character for the Border Princes, like Leopold the Black. Like, he's from the Empire,
Yes.
but like Leopold the Black would be perfect. He's got the perfect disposition for a Border Prince, and then I would look, and then for the Magic Lord, I would want a Sheik or an Emir of Arabia or Araby, whose whole thing is like he summons big scary things. Like, he's like elemental incarnate of fire, elemental incarnate of death, elemental incarnate of beast, which we have in the Forge World book, to serve as the Djinns. Because in the old lore, the Djinns were basically just like demons, or they were like these really basic elemental creatures. I would much prefer him to get the same principle, but base them on the incarnate elementals we got as part of the Monstrous Arcanum. Because the Monstrous Arcanum incarnate elementals are beautiful designs. And that would allow, and Araby would bring the monsters into the Dogs of War. Like, they'd be so important, because they would bring the big things. They'd bring the elephants, they'd bring the incarnate elementals as the biggest monsters, and they'd bring the camel knights. Fuck, give us flying carpet cab. I don't care. But I would love this Emir character. Like, could you imagine like this big, like very wealthy looking guy with like this like beard, and he's got like he's got like a cool turban hat thing, and he's riding on like a big war elephant, like casting spells, and like has a bound spell where he can like summon an incarnate elemental. Like, so good.
See, my issue is because that's a lot of cultures, whereas the Border Princes, of course, is just like a bit of a mix.
Yeah, Border Prince is kind of like a fill-in.
And if we look towards the old world stuff, remember, Estalia and Talea now have different crests.
Yeah, I agree. It's splitting them up it's messy, man.
Yeah, but like, imagine it this way, right? So we could have something really fucking cool if we split it up to like the whole idea of like minor race packs, right?
Okay, I agree. I do agree there.
Yeah. Because like Spaniards could be Spaniards could be like conquistadors at very early Spain, where the armor and the look was kind of pretty but out there, and so on. Then Talea would be like based on Renaissance Italy, but also with a little bit of Roman hint to go on the Lorenzo Lupo thing.
Yeah, and for Remus, the city of Remus is very like old school.
Exactly.
Like, so here's a question for chat, and we can even do a poll on this, because I'm genuinely curious. Would chat prefer an idea where you get like the Dogs of War? So they kind of have combined cultures, but you get these really authentic units that have the ability to mix and match. And they have like, so we know we have a mercenary system with outposts and everything. So imagine this race having like insanely good bonuses to mercenaries and the alliance system, and being very good at recruiting units from other factions. And they're kind of like we're not the strongest nations, but but they get like a fully fledged DLC where they get like unique mechanics, 4 very full-fledged lords, and a big fat juicy roster that's these cultures mixed together. Or would you prefer a minor DLC separate for each of them? So they get a smaller roster than most races in the game. They get one at best 2 legendary lords, but they have their own identities and their own completely unique rosters. But they would have significantly less funding and time than if they were the Dogs of War, but they would also get to be completely standalone and thematic. I'm curious which people would prefer.
Because I see it like that, man. Like, if you could imagine, that would be super cool if we had like little mini race packs and we had all these different possibilities. Like, man, I would love to have a proper Araby faction. The same thing as like I'm sure people get pissed off if Kislev was just another supplement to.
You know what? I honestly think you've swung my opinion on this.
Yeah.
Like I hadn't really considered them, because this is something I've talked about on stream, and I really want to say it now, and I really need to start saying it every time I'm anywhere public. CA needs to stop doing Lord packs, and make better types of DLCs.
Yeah.
I think Lord packs are terrible. I think they're garbage. We always get one good faction update and one shit faction. And I think they need to change the way they do things, where they do new kinds of DLCs that are focused, and that everything in the DLC is important. So like, if you're going to do a race update, do one. Like, if you're going to do Warriors of Chaos, just do the Warriors of Chaos. Don't give me Warriors of Chaos versus Empire and then do a super shit job on one of them. And also minor race packs, I think that would be gold. I think you're absolutely right. Like, oh, fine, give me an Albion DLC. It has 1 legendary lord and a unique roster. But like, thanks to the new outpost system, even if they don't have the most unique, biggest roster, they can supplement their roster with allies, and other factions can supplement their rosters through Albion. Yeah. I honestly think that would be such a good idea. Well, not one lord at a time, Nifty. Like, imagine if they did we're doing an Empire DLC, and as part of this Empire DLC, you get Boris Todbringer fully playable, Kurt Helborg as a new legendary lord. You get Ludwig Schwarzhelm as a legendary hero. Like, you just get a ton of shit. Like, you get multiple legendary lords, multiple legendary heroes, multiple units, and they update the faction to give them new mechanics. Instead of 1 legendary lord per team with 1 generic character per team and 3 units per team. Yeah. I think it would be so much better to just do 1 guy and go whole hog, and then okay, we're done with this faction, let's move on.
I mean, if you look at the most recent DLCs for Warhammer 2, Twisted in the Twilight, yeah, it fixed up a lot of stuff for the Widows, but the Widows also did have a really bad time with the item building system.
Yeah, they had to do a complete another. They practically had to do another free LC just to get the Wood Elf part finished.
Because what happened? Who were they playing against? Skaven. And who's going to get the most attention? The Skaven.
Yep. Nakai versus Wolfheart. Nakai is absolute horseshit. Yeah. And honestly, the Empire got a really, really nice update, but it still wasn't 100%. It still feels kind of like not half-baked, but like 90% baked. Lizardmen have gotten screwed every single time they show up. Like, they got the most lords, but they got the worst updates.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. It is really unfortunate. Oh, we're being raided from Legend. Hey, Legend, how you doing, buddy? But it's one of these things where if we look towards bloody hell, that's a lot of people. How you guys? What was he playing today? Nurgle? Yeah, I think he was playing Nurgle, wasn't he?
Yeah, I'm sick of Lord packs. I don't want them anymore. Yeah. They're garbage.
I'm sick of Lord packs. I want mini race packs. I want. Well, the thing is, then we go mini. What constitutes a mini? A mini race pack and a full race pack? Because, like, say for example, we know a lot about Indolor right now, and I want like 4 legendary lords, man. I want a Catboy, and I want a. I think.
Can you please say Tiger Man and not Catboy, so we don't get flamed because people are like, Nathan wants to put his fetish in the game.
Right. So like a Tiger Man. One of the godheads for like the Indian culture would obviously be what, like it was an elephant man, wasn't it? Gilgamesh.
Indian Ganesh, I think. But like
Ganesh.
Hindu religion has like an obscene amount of things that you could turn into just amazing
Yeah,
fantasy monsters and characters and stuff.
exactly. No, they've got an awesome pantheon. They've got
God
an
damn it,
awesome.
Nathan! My chat is full of people saying, "Ooh, now this is your fault." In any event, no, I agree. Well, like, and that's the thing. I think the thing me and Nathan want to express is when you have a lot of like a large landmass with an established Warhammer fantasy culture, that is like it's big, and there's nobody else already there is kind of the most important thing. Then we say big race pack. Chaos Dwarves, big race pack. 4 legendary lords, full thing, and big legendary lords, 4 legendary lords, big race pack, full thing.
Yeah.
Albion, 1 legendary lord. Araby, 2. Talea, 1 or 2. Border Princes, probably 1. Places where there's just not a lot of guys, or there's not a lot of space. And it's most predominantly going to affect races that live in the old world, because the old world is cramped as fuck. And CA, in my opinion, I think, in me and Nathan's genuine, honest opinion, if he's cool for me speaking for him here, goofed the fuck up when they stuffed just a shitload of characters in Araby for no reason.
There's this weird fucking thing with I don't know why CA has done it. I don't know because I look at the old world map for reference now, like the stuff that GW shows off, and it doesn't look that scrunched. But fucking hell, man, a lot of everything is just. What the fuck happened to Talabecland?
well, I mean, the Warhammer 3 map we're gonna ignore because it's obviously like very bizarre. It's like you're looking at a globe, so it's very weird. Like it works for what they're doing with it, but it's hopefully they're not using that for anything else. But I do agree that the Warhammer 2 Mortal Empires map needs to be fixed. Like they took the Warhammer 1 map and then just squished some shit on. And it is bad. Bad. A lot of stuff is very improperly sized. Like, I'm fine with the old world being that big. I love it being that big. But if it's going to be that big, then everything needs to be appropriately adjusted to be an appropriate size. The only thing they should shrink is the ocean. Because no one wants to sail for like 30 turns.
Naval DLC, for fuck's sake. We have a game series called Nano War. Naval DLC.
It's never going to happen. It is
never
going to happen.
I know, but they would make a lot of money.
Like, they might as well just make a new game and then try to find a way to port it into Total War Warhammer 3. That would be easier.
There we go, Total War Warhammer 4 naval battles. Just keep milking this fucking shit, man. Everyone loves it.
Would I want a proper globe for Mortal Empires? No, I want the entire planet, but I want it flat, like Warhammer 2. I don't want a globe. When you say globe, you make me think Warhammer 3, which is globe, and it looks like I hate it. Like it works great for the Warhammer 3 campaign, but if you were to use that for anything else, I would be very upset.
It kind of confuses me, like when I start a game, because the it points to a different direction, doesn't it?
Yeah. Now, if you're asking when I want a globe, do I want a button that when I'm at the west side of the map, I can teleport to the east side? Yes, I would love that. Either that make it cool. Yeah, like I don't need it to be seamless. Like that could be too much work. I don't need it to be like when I get to the eastern edge, it's just like seamlessly moving with me. Like you could just have it where there's like there's an edge of the world, and when I hit that edge, I click a button and I'm now on the other side. That would be fine.
So, I've actually got a question for you, since we've been talking about mini race packs and so on, right?
Okay.
So, there's loads of established kind of like sub-races for certain cultures that we've not really heard about a lot, or just like they've been given one line or something. Like, say, for example, we know that, say, for example, in the very far parts of the northern and southern Chaos race in the Warhammer Fantasy world, there are demonic beastmen.
Yes, the Demonkin.
What do you think?
Demonkin. So here's my general rule of thumb, I think, which I think would be a smart guiding principle. If you have a race that is located to a roughly a small, like either a city to a small state size, so halflings, Amazons, Demonkin, and they're not nuanced, right? There's not like a lot of different variants on what they're capable of. They're fairly one note. I think there should be a mechanic with a Dogs of War free LC or DLC where if you go to that area, you can recruit them as a unit. And like depending on how they fit with your faction. So like, oh hey, I went to the Temple of Rig, or I went to Amazon Island in Lustria. Since I'm in this settlement and I own this area, I can recruit Amazon units. And there's like maybe 1 or 2 variants. Oh, I own the Moot. Okay, well I can recruit halfling mercenaries, a couple of units. Oh, I control the Southern Chaos Waste. I can recruit Demonkin. I think it's great for these things to be in the game, but the races that are like super one-dimensional and there's just not a lot of like, when it comes to warfare, like halflings have a lot of culture to them because they're in the Empire, but like when it comes to warfare, they're very one note. Then I don't think they need to be a race. Make them a mercenary unit. Now, if you're dealing with a race that has a country and it's like notably sized, and we know they have armies and there's like a lot of troops and they have like storied characters and stuff, Estalia, Talea, Araby, but they're not like one of the big players or they're smushed, then minor race pack. And then lastly, your big boys, guys that have almost continent-sized territory to themselves. They are major players on the world stage, and they like can shake history. That's your Chaos Dwarves, and those are your major race packs. That's how I think it should be divvied up.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you. The only thing is, like, I'm getting greedy from a point of a Warhammer Fantasy fan. Because many of us obviously grew up at the tabletop, and we saw little tidbits of stuff here and there. So I want to see it all. And then in that Russian interview, they were like, "Oh yeah, we want to do everything." It's like, "Well, do everything. Like literally, give us everything."
I will add, if CA wants to go, that's cool, but we're just going to do a major race pack for every single race in the game. I will fucking happily take that up my butt, and I will say thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Like I want to see. I'll tell you.
I just like, y'all know, I try really hard to have realistic expectations. Yeah. Because if there's one thing I think our community needs to be a little better about, it's not like trying to want everything and then getting angry when it doesn't happen. Yeah. I think it's better to have realistic expectations, and if we get more than that, great.
Yeah. Well, there's a few things actually, now that you mentioned that. Say, for example, I know a lot of people weren't too keen on the recolored stuff, and I know a lot of people here aren't too keen on it, our viewers right now. I'm okay with the recolors coming from a tabletop player's perspective. Like the Forsaken and the Chaos Spawn and so on. In fact, I've found them quite useful for certain of the factions. So I don't mind. I do believe that eventually we would probably benefit from getting a few updated looks for like the Chaos Knights of Tzeentch and so on.
Literally the only unit that like I feel strongly needs unique assets on the guys is the Doom Knights. The rest of it, I'm kind of like, you know, I don't really care. Like from a tabletop perspective, that's what it would look like. So for me, it doesn't mess with me, and it's not like they're covered in undivided symbols anymore.
Yeah.
That being said, like I understand what people are saying. And I will say, y'all have made a huge fuss about it, so I would not be surprised if CA does something about it. But do be aware these things take time.
Yeah, I was actually really surprised about the Doom Knights, because we had a model which was a character, I believe, from the Storm of Chaos, wasn't he? It was the father, right? Because his son had the chicken head.
I do not remember at all what we're talking about.
Tzeentchian character who rode in the disc. Around the Storm of Chaos. He was one of Archaon's lieutenants.
I don't have him memorized off the top of my head.
Right. No, it's just because I remember his son has a chicken head, because he's also a model. But he was essentially the Doom Knight inspiration, and he had like a nice robe and everything, and it made him look pretty cool. And in my head, when I heard the description of Doom Knights before we saw the artwork and so on, I was like, oh, it's definitely going to be something like this. Because this would be fucking cool.
Well, the thing is, if you look at the minis, what CA very obviously did was that, and for the people that are like, Tzeentch got screwed, I think it's important to understand how Tzeentch got screwed. Not that he really got screwed, but it's that like when you look at Khorne, all they did was they made the Skull Crushers and then said, "Oh, we have these new guys on the backs of the Juggernauts." So they took them off the Juggernauts and put them on foot, and were like, "Look, new Chaos Warriors."
Yeah.
That's all they did, and they did the exact same thing with Slaanesh. Is that they made the Hellstriders, and they were like, "Now you're an infantry unit. Look, new Marauders." Tzeentch, they didn't do that because it seems like they made the Chaos Knights of Tzeentch first, and were like, we had to make these discs for the characters. It'd be nice if we could use these for something else. Chaos Knight, Doom Knight. So that's what happened. I'm not saying if it was a good thing. I'm just saying that's what happened.
Yeah.
You know, is that CA, they always recycle assets where they can. It's just this happened to be one of those times where everybody noticed.
Yeah. I'm cool with recycled assets. I still think that, like, say, for example, putting the Slaaneshi Marauders on foot was a smart idea. Like, because
No, I loved it. It was
I
brilliant.
always loved that. Like, I thought, like, oh, damn, we needed this on the tabletop. It's something that I always was very vocal about. And in fact,
Dude,
I
I
actually
need
said it
Doom Knights on the
Twitter.
tabletop. Like, what?
Oh, yeah, definitely. But, like, that's something, like, they needed to do more. Khorne got the advantage because, like you said, the Juggernauts are this. It's just a different thing, but it's literally just the Juggernaut rider on foot. It's literally just that. It's this is why I say it's it's a recolor, reskin. It's just literally that. But I hope we get something in the future.
I hope they will address it. I am totally in that camp. I would love for all 4 Chaos Gods to get a visual update where any Warrior Chaos units that they have get totally unique assets and looks. And maybe if they have some free time, they could also maybe go take a double peek at the Exalted Lord of Change and tweak him a little bit. He's a little not as inspired as the other 3.
I don't know. I haven't really used them much, to be honest. When they become really big targets like that, it's like rip.
Yeah, well, what I mean to say is that if you compare the Exalted Greater Demon to the regular Greater Demon in all the God factions, Tzeentch's is much less unique compared to the other 3.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just that I do hope that we'll get some updates. I'm cool if we don't. Like,
by the way, someone in chat says the character you were thinking of is apparently Melik the Changer.
Yeah.
And
I put on the picture. Sicebeth is the kid.
Yeah, Melik the Changer is dead, apparently.
Yeah, because it's a really cool miniature. How can I?
It is something worth noting, and like people are gonna have different opinions on this, but like when it comes to the Warrior Chaos stuff, like to be a fair point, like anytime they're gonna spend creating new models for all of the Warriors of Chaos to look like have very unique God-specific models instead of just undivided with recolors, that is time that could have been spent making something new.
Yeah.
Like that's like if they end up doing that, that could have been a new monster, a new character. So like you kind of have to think about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't mind if they're going to look visually different, but then again, I know a lot of people don't like using mods, right? But we have amazing fucking modders in our community. Like, amazing. Like, even just looking at OVN Lost Factions, you're just going like, holy crap. How can that be a thing? They've created new factions, new mechanics, new units, new this. Like, I'm not too bothered with stuff being recolored. Again, same thing, tabletop. Like,
yeah, well, and I think that's what colors our perspective so heavily, is we look at the game from a tabletop perspective, where I think as a lot of people look at it from like a video game not played tabletop and are looking at it from a video gamer's perspective, which is very different.
Yeah, it's just like, obviously, how many years did we have those Chaos Warriors on like the actual miniature?
Well, like you mean before AOS, where we got unique stuff?
Well, yeah, and they still sell this current box too.
Yeah,
easily a decade.
Well over a decade.
Yeah.
They're 7th edition minis, I think. 7th or 6th.
Six. That's six.
I think well, we have new Chaos Warrior sculpts now, but you can only get them through a very specific box, which is stupid. Fuck you, Games Workshop, release them as a separate box. But yeah, the current were like Chaos Warriors are 6th edition minis, which means they're actually probably near 20 years old.
Some of the Skaven miniatures are my age.
Dude, yeah, no. Some of the Skaven are like as old as we are, if not older. Yeah, they're like approaching 30.
And that's why, like, everyone's like, oh yeah, because it doesn't look nice. It's like, oh man, but I mod my game, man. I've seen these people with all these amazing recolors.
Yeah, to be fair to everyone, that's not a valid defense. It's just
no.
It's just how we feel about it.
Yeah. Plus, I want new shit. I always want new
infinite shit. We need infinite shit. All right. So we actually need to call it. We are way over time. Hilariously over time. So thank you all so much for joining us. We hope you had fun this week at Lorebeards. We will have even more to talk about next week because another embargo will have dropped and we'll be talking about something a little more sensational, perhaps. But we'll also have some other further subjects. If you want to have your mini shown off because you're painting and you finished something, or you have something from prior months that we didn't show off while we were on hiatus and you want us to see it, throw it on Twitter, #Lorebeards. If you put it in my Discord, then before the show, I will put it up on Twitter for you if you don't have a Twitter account, but I would really appreciate it if you did it yourself. We will be discussing some other topics. By the way, if there's ever anything you want to see on Lorebeards, you could hop on Twitter and use that #Lorebeards tag to get our attention and suggest some topics for future shows. I'm happy to look at those. So hope you all have a lovely day. We're going to go ahead and wrap up. Nathan, you got any closing words for everybody?
Well, yeah, just thanks for popping by. Obviously, it's every Sunday we're doing this. Remember, you're going to paint up the character for 2 weeks' time?
Yes, 2 weeks. You have to, well, you don't have to, but if you want to join in on the Tale of Two Gamers, you have 2 weeks from today to finish a hero.
Yeah, it's, I'm painting Beastmen and my soul's just dying inside.
I'm trying to finish Nighthawk. Oh, we didn't even talk about the new Nighthawk minis. I'm just going to say they're sexy. They're so fucking sexy. Oh my god. Dude, they literally made me into a Nighthawk. The book, dude, it's me.
They really like crossbows, though. Like, every single faction is now getting crossbows.
But hey, I'm not complaining. Shooting is very meta right now. We'll talk about some AOS stuff next time. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on in the meta. We'll talk about it next episode. So thank you all so much for listening. We gotta go. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, guys. Nathan, I'll see you later, dude.
See ya.